everybody, to the Mojoverse podcast. I'm Mo.
And this is Joe.
And on this episode, we're going to be talking about news from E3. So how's everybody doing? This is our first episode of the Mojoverse podcast. Joe, what is E3?
E3, it's the Electronic Entertainment Expo, which is a world premiere annual convention where all the leading companies join together to announce their latest tech and video games. So anything like games that are in development, and also give us release dates of games that will be coming out in the near future.
So this is the major press event for video games of the year. Who was there this year?
EA and Bethesda had a press conference on Sunday, June 12th. Microsoft, Ubisoft, and Sony had theirs on the Monday, June the 13th. Nintendo didn't have a press conference this year, but they did have live demos on the show floor, which ran from June 14th to the 16th. It looked really beautiful out there. We didn't get the chance to go because usually it sells out and it's mostly press that are able to go. They had beautiful life-size statues, and they actually made backgrounds from the video games that they would be showcasing. They had their statues that were available to buy. If anyone's interested, we can order those in. There's lots of action figures for Final Fantasy. I personally, my favorite is always Sony because I'm a huge fan of Square Enix, and during their entire press conference they had a live orchestra. EA and Bethesda aren't quite my favorite companies, but I found their Fallout DLC looked pretty cool, even though I don't own the game and I'm not a fan of shooter games. All the extra content that they added was really interesting and made for a pretty varied game.
Yeah, for me, I really liked, going back to my past a little bit, I really liked the FIFA presentation that they had for EA because they've redesigned their career mode, which is really neat. I don't know if it's enough to get me to play a FIFA game again, but I thought it was pretty neat. Bethesda didn't really catch me at all. The Microsoft presentation, same thing. There were a couple games, we're going to talk about them a little bit later, but nothing really stood out for me. With the Ubisoft, it's always interesting. They always have a really edgy, funny presentation. There were a couple games, again, we're going to talk about them later, and to me, being a musician, Sony just killed it. Through the whole presentation, they had the live orchestra. Even during the demos, they were playing live music. It was really cool. So what are some standout games for you this year?
Well, I kind of have a list because I love Nintendo, pretty much all their games that they come out with. Gravity Rush is the first one that comes to mind, which they didn't really talk about all that much, but when I saw the gameplay, I thought it was really unique in where you're kind of like flying or gliding most of the time. All your attacks are kind of like aerial attacks, and kind of looks like you're flying on the moon for the most part, so you don't have to worry about platforming as much and missing your jumps and stuff like that. So that looked really interesting. They set a release for 2016, no month date yet.
For me, for that game, it looked really interesting because you're going to be doing battling in the air too, right? So it just adds a whole new dynamic to the fighting mechanic, which is really neat because now in this day and age where graphics are very close, you have to set yourself apart somehow, right? And this one looked really cool.
And there's a black cat following you around. That's
yeah,
pretty cute.
As long as it's cute, right?
This is a sequel, though. I didn't play the first game, but it does have a standalone story. You're actually learning the characters' origins this time, so I'm not sure if you miss much, but if you want more storyline, then we'll probably pick up the first game as well. For games that are coming out soon, I'm really excited for Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE. That's coming out on June 24th. It's a mix of Shin Megami, which I'm a huge fan of that series, and Fire Emblem, which I have yet to get into, but the only thing you get from Fire Emblem is the characters that you'll recognize as Easter eggs. As for Shimigami, it's same type of gameplay where the people you gather to join your team are called mirages. I think you confuse them. The whole theme that they center it around is like pop star singing, so you can get into like these sessions where they just start jamming and they actually start singing full out songs, like lengthy songs, if you get all of them to attack together, which could be pretty interesting because I do love my J-pop.
And the music was pretty good. I have to say, I'm not really a fan of much modern day music, but it was pretty good, I have to admit.
Yeah, and next game I'll be looking into is Star Ocean 5, which is June 28th. I've only played one Star Ocean game before. I think it was for the PS2. It's an action RPG, so it looks like you can switch between 6 or 7 characters for battling, which I really enjoy, so you don't just get tired of one character and you can always keep switching and keeping it fresh. Next was I Am Setsuna, because that was a really nice throwback to the RPG days. That's coming out on July 19th. Square Enix made that one. Soundtrack looks beautiful. Art looks beautiful. It's about a girl who has to sacrifice herself to save her village. So pretty classic there.
And that one also, it had like an overhead view to it, right? So it really did look really classic. It was really neat to see that.
Yeah, so that's the wait time fighting, where you can take a more strategic approach to battling, which we enjoy a lot more instead of just button mashing. What else are we looking into? Dragon Quest VII for the 3DS. I'm so excited. I had the PS1 game a long time ago. Never got around to finishing it for some reason because I got pretty stuck. But I liked the fact that part of the game where you could have your own island and you could talk to several people throughout the game to get them to join your island, and depending what kind of people you talk to, like what their professions were, they would build certain things on your island, so you can get pretty unique there. It looks like they did a whole new revamp of their graphics, like not just a remaster but an actual remake, and it looks really good, and they added new job classes.
That one, I'm not as familiar with the history of that one. I think they mentioned that it came out for the Super Famicom or something like that. That's an old game. It's really cool how they're going to be taking technology that we have now of really making a classic game like that, just like Final Fantasy VII, right? So that's pretty cool.
Well, it was out for Japan for a while, and us fans in North America actually started a petition, they were saying, to make it into English, and they weren't going to at first because they thought the translating was way too much work, because it's a decently long game, about 20 to 30 hours, and they didn't want to translate all that language, but fans fought for it and they gave it to us finally. Also, what I wanted to talk about, of course, is Pokemon Sun and Moon. Everybody should know about that by now. November 28th is when that's coming out. We're probably gonna get one each again so we can trade whichever Pokemon that we're missing. Gotta catch them all. And
that's a little trick that we have. We each get any exclusives that are on that game, we can just breed and then trade, or even just send over to the other game and just have it in the party just to get credit for it on the Pokedex, right? I saw that they updated the Pokedex to now have a move index. I don't know. You were.
It's an actual Pokemon, the Pokedex.
Yeah.
It's gonna talk to you and guide you.
And apparently, on each battle, if you come across a Pokemon a second time, it'll actually tell you the effects that the moves will have on it based on type, which is pretty cool. So that's just adding a new layer to the Pokedex, which is neat.
And I like how they're actually creating new Pokemon for this one. So I'm actually going to be excited to see who we're going to run across. And of course, the 3 adorable starters that they have, I'm picking Litten.
You mean the 2 adorable starters and the one that nobody really wants, right?
Yeah, Puplio, poor Puplio.
I'm probably gonna pick it just because I feel bad for the little guy that everybody leaves.
Well, another one, and I would say this one's the one that was least talked about, and it doesn't have a date yet, which makes me really sad because I'm probably most excited for this one because I've never heard about it. It's called Ever Oasis for the 3DS, and it kind of mixes a bit of like Zoo Tycoon or Roller Coaster Tycoon in with like a dungeon or foraging type game, because what it is that you own your own oasis in the desert, and you can actually create shops, forage for things like materials that those shop owners are going to need, bring it to them, and then they can sell their wares. The more shops you have, the more adorable little creatures are going to come into your oasis and shop, and then you can collect that money at the end. And then there's a dungeon type element where you leave, you go into a cave, you have a party of 3, and each one have their own unique set of abilities that they can use. So there's a bit of a puzzle element there too, where you have to figure out which character you need to use to advance further into the cave with certain abilities that you're going to be needing. So I thought that to be really interesting, because anytime you can create something in a game or customize something is something that I really enjoy.
So we saw that on the demo. It is basically almost like a SimCity type thing where you build your shops and you get your money, the currency in the game. I forget what it's called, but...
Duodems.
Okay. And then it's got that really neat dungeon crawler element to it almost, right? It's a really interesting game, and I look forward to playing that a little bit.
Yep, another 3DS game.
Yeah.
Another one that I was really excited about, World of Final Fantasy. It is so adorable. I think I was screaming when I first saw the visuals on this. We finally got to see the gameplay of this game coming out October 25th, which is decently soon.
Now, anybody who's listening to this right now, just go onto Google and check out this character art, okay? Because you can really get to see what we're talking about, especially the chocobos.
Everything is chibi. So everything, I think it's its own world where everything is chibi. The main characters can switch back and forth from regular mode to chibi mode. And this one is a bit like Final Fantasy 13-2, where you actually get to capture the Final Fantasy monsters. And of course, it's all monsters that you're going to recognize, and probably a few new ones. When you collect them, there's some large, medium, and small sizes. So like a behemoth would be large, and you can actually ride on the behemoth. And then small versions like the cactuar or the chocobo, which the chocobo, by the way, has an egg on its head. Really cute. Looks like a baby. Why not? Yeah, they ride on your head. So I think you have a party, like you can have 2 monsters on each of your characters, which there's 2 of. Mm-hmm. So that's about 4 or so monsters each, depending on their sizes.
Yeah, you can have the you can have one. So let's say I want a Tonberry and a Cactuar on my side, so I can literally have a Tonberry on my head, like that's how they have the slots set up, and then you can have a Cactuar on the Tonberry's head.
And you don't just see them in battle; they actually follow you around when you walk around on the screen. Mm-hmm. Also, what's exciting is that the Eidolons, however you pronounce that, we like to say Aeons because Final Fantasy X's our favorite.
Oh yeah, we started with that one, so we're gonna stick with that one.
They're all gonna be present, so they showed us the art for Shiva, Ifrit, and Valfor, and they look amazing.
I'm gonna put a spoiler on this one just because I don't know if people want us to ruin it, but they're also gonna have characters. So on the demo that I was watching, we saw Yuna. A little itty-bitty little Yuna doing the summoner's dance, the sending dance, and it's just hilarious. And they got a lot of the voice actors to come back too.
The same voice actors for them too, yes. That was confirmed, especially Yuna's that we heard.
I think Lightning's going to be doing it too or something.
Yeah, I think we're going to be able to meet all of our favorite characters throughout all the Final Fantasies, and you can also summon them in battle to do like an overdrive type attack, and they're all doing it in chibi form again, which is super adorable. I can't tell you how adorable it is.
There's nothing like seeing a tiny little cloud just hacking up the enemies.
Yeah, please check that out. For other Square Enix news, they told us that they're not delayed with Kingdom Hearts 3, but they still don't have a date for that. Yeah, they're still on track, they said. Kingdom Hearts 2.8 hasn't delayed them too much. That one's only coming out for December, though. The end of December, I believe. This one, I'm not too happy that they included Dream Drop Distance. It's cool that it's for the PS4, but I've already played it on the 3DS, and I don't like owning two of the same thing, even though they're on different platforms. But they said they were adding more content. There's going to be more Dream Eaters, so I'll probably have more Dream Eaters to collect. And then they're going to have an extra story called Key Backstory, so apparently that's important enough to look into because it leads up to Kingdom Hearts 3 if you want a little bit more story. And then they're also going to have Birth by Sleep 2.0. So the first Birth by Sleep was on the PSP. This one's kind of like a sequel, but more of a thing on its own. You do get to play as Aqua, and I'm not entirely sure yet if it's a full-out game or if it's just a small little piece to get some extra story there. They weren't entirely clear on that, so I guess we'll find out. I also want to mention that the Pokemon Go app is coming out in July. That's something that you can download on your Android or iPhone, but it also comes with an extra gadget, like a bracelet that looks like a Pokeball, and instead of always having to check your phone or look at your app, this is going to vibrate and let you know when there's a Pokemon nearby. So this is like a real-life catching Pokemon game where they have certain Pokemon in certain locations throughout the entire world, not just important landmarks, but also they factor in the terrain. Like if you're near a lake or an ocean, you're going to have water Pokemon pop up.
So next time you guys are out on Ramsey Lake in Sudbury, watch out for the gigantic Gyarados.
Yeah, the only thing that worries me is that how much are they going to have in each city? Because the thing is that
on Nintendo's radar. Yeah.
If they make landmarks like the Eiffel Tower and things like that, this is a game where you're really going to have to travel if you want to catch them all. Like, sure, you're going to go on vacation and stuff at some point, but not everywhere in the entire world, so it just depends how many Pokemon you can catch in your own city or province even.
I think it would be a really interesting interactive Pokemon thing, you know, if you can just get a buzz on your phone and it said, hey, there's a Pokemon near you, and then you just play a little game to catch it while you're on the bus or something. I think that's a really interesting way of doing it.
It would get you more active, I suppose, and you can have you can hatch eggs in this one, and the way to hatch eggs is by walking.
Oh, nice.
And you can't actually shake it, and you can't, it's not a time thing where you go by car. They actually count the steps that you take, so they're trying to get people to be more active.
So my little trick of putting my phone in the paint shaker isn't gonna
Nope,
help enough.
apparently that won't work.
Just full disclaimer, I haven't tried it. It's still a theory. Don't everybody's just start getting mad at me that I'm breaking phones.
And I'll finish with the most talked about game. You've probably seen it all over Facebook by now, or social media, is Zelda for the Wii U, called Breath of the Wild, I believe.
You think we would know this before doing the podcast? I don't remember.
I didn't write that down.
Give me a second.
But anyway, I was a little nervous because they said it was going to be open world and they were going to drastically change how we know Zelda games.
And that scared me so much when they said that.
Yeah, because we like what we like and we don't like too much change, even though Nintendo's always trying to be innovative. Sometimes they try too hard, but it actually looked really fun. Like, I'm actually really surprised. I'm not, of course the graphics are really huge, but that's not big on my list of things that need to be.
But we're not saying the graphics aren't great. They are really nice.
They are really beautiful.
They don't match up to Final Fantasy 15 or something, but they're still really nice. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah, and the way they changed things up was that there's a lot of foraging involved in this. There's a lot of collecting. There won't be any rupees in the grass anymore, so we won't be mowing the lawn. But you do find items like you'll pick leaves or sticks from trees. You can chop trees down with an axe. You can pick at rocks. You can still throw pots. There'll be stuff in there. You can just grab mushrooms, flowers, whatever makes sense in the environment, and you can sell those items or you can use them for later. You can do weapon upgrading. There's all kinds of things that you can try out. They even have a cooking system, so you can grab like a mushroom from the ground. You can hijack a monster's campground where they're actually cooking meat or beef on a stick, and you can grab that after you've defeated them and just throw it all into a pot, and there you have your food that gives you your hearts back. And not only can you replenish the hearts that you already have, but you can add additional temporary ones as well, which could be really useful for boss battles or something like that. So I really like the fact that you can really use your environment to do so many things. You'll probably be discovering things further into the game. Like at one point in the demo, you see Link shooting an arrow at a beehive, and the bees who were close to the monsters at the time were actually chasing the monsters off.
They really did that artificial intelligence. It was actually really cool because when he came to that campground, they started attacking him, and then his weapon broke. I don't like that. But at some point, he was able to steal the enemy's weapon. I think he had a spear, and he was using that against the enemies.
Yeah, you can steal their weapons. That's actually really cool.
It's going to be a lot less linear than the other Zelda games. You know, when you get the grappling, like in the old games, you get the grappling hook. You now go to the temple. You use the grappling hook. There you go. It's going to be just wide open world.
You kind of decide how to play the story and what you want to use.
I don't know how much I like about that. It has a little bit of a Skyrim element to me, which I don't necessarily like, but I like how they just put you into the world and mostly let you figure it out. It seems like they thought of a lot of things and really give you an opportunity to be creative, which it looks pretty cool.
If you set your stick on fire and you put your stick into the grass, you'll actually set the grass on fire and probably start a forest fire.
Yeah.
So it is pretty realistic. And they don't have water
bombers in the Zelda universe yet, so... But they are going to be introducing an element of technology to the game, right?
It looks like how the trailer started was you have somebody say "wake up," which is actually brings you back to Ocarina of Time when Navi wakes you up.
Oh, because yeah.
So he's sleeping, and he comes out of a pod kind of thing filled with water, and they say that we resurrected him. So I'm thinking, everything looks in ruins. There's a bunch of destroyed and broken down robots everywhere.
Hyrule did not look good. There was a lot of just destruction. It seemed worn down. So we're really thinking it's going to be set in the future. We really don't know yet. But we'll just have to wait and see. But it does look really interesting. And it is a complete reimagining of the Zelda series. So,
for some reason, I think the thing I'm gonna like the most about the game is that you can jump in this one. You don't have to wait till you get to the end of a ledge. And when you jump down onto the side of a cliff or a mountain or something like that, Link will actually jump on top of his shield and slide all the way down with his shield to get there faster. So that looks really fun. I'm probably going to be jumping off things all the time.
Yeah, just for fun. Let's just jump off a cliff. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. The last game that I want to mention that I'm really interested in getting, but I kind of need a little bit more information on it first, was Nier Automata, which is coming out early 2017. It looks beautiful. The theme of it looks a little creepy, a little dark. But I kind of like it. In the demo, you see them fight a really awesome boss, which is really creepy. I think they're fighting all robots. She has dead people or creepy mannequins all over on her dress.
And the reason why we're sounding a little more hesitant with this one is that they really had one area of the game done. It's really still in development. He was literally going into development mode and adding enemies into the world. So there's not a lot of information on this out.
But the battle style did seem like it really flows. It's not choppy at all. Like,
quick
it's just seamless.
Weapons,
yeah, and you can fight quickly. There's 2 different weapons you can wield. Like, you can have a big sword. You can have knuckles that look like
there's some sort of hand-to-hand combat thing for sure.
Yeah, and also you have a robot following you around that can shoot, which would be good for long range.
And there's a touch of strategy to it, because there were some enemies with armor where you have to attack with your sword first, and then you can go to hand or have your robot shoot at them with long range. So there is still an element of strategy to the battling, which I really liked. It's not just, okay, press the button, hack and slash. You gotta pick your weapons, you gotta pick your openings on the enemy.
So those are probably my list of games that I'm definitely going to be looking into getting. Just a few quick mentions before this gets a little too long. I want to talk about Paper Mario Color Splash for the Wii U. I follow Paper Mario series pretty closely. I do have the new Paper Jam game for the 3DS. I had Sticker Star, hated it a lot, and returned it at EB Games. It looks like this one is taking a little bit too many elements from it for me, because the concept of painting everywhere seemed really fun. You've got 3 different colors, so you got your 3 primary colors. You can, there's a lot of blank areas in the game that you can fill with color, but they also have a card system, again, for battling. And most of your cards are blank. I guess you can get better cards later on in the game. But you have to fill them with as little or as much color as you want. And depending on how much color you add to the card, it'll do more damage. And it doesn't really seem to display any damage amounts or how much health the bad guys have. Because what happens is that they just get more and more blank as you attack them. So half of them is color and half of them is just white. I guess that means they're half done, but that doesn't really help you with strategy to see just how close you are to finishing them off. And also running out of color really would frustrate me, because I understand having a certain amount of MP or SP, whatever they call it, for every game, and then having to replenish somewhere else. But you always have your basic attacks in case you do run out, so that you can still fight. But it seems like with this one, once you run out of paint, that's it. Like, you just can't battle.
Mm-hmm.
So...
And they didn't show a lot of it, so we don't know a lot about where you get more cards or paint or stuff like that.
And they still have the annoying games like hide and go seek toads, and you have to go and find them, and a little bit babyish in that way.
Mm-hmm. But it's a Mario game, and once he booted it up, right? We were watching the demo, booted it up. It looked interesting with the color elements. You have your splash hammer thing, and then the more I watched the demo, the more I just didn't really care for it.
Yeah, so I'm probably just going to stick with my Paper Jam. I don't know why they don't just make a Paper Mario with your companions like you had for the 64 and then the GameCube. They had amazing attacks, and that was really fun. So if they can just get the battling system like that again, that would be great. And also with Mario Party Star Rush, I'm a little more inclined to get that one than the Paper Mario one. This one's going to be for the 3DS again. They want to make it more portable, meaning it won't take as long to finish the game with some friends.
Yeah, they marketed the last game as like, oh, you're just sitting on a bus, you can just pick up a game with just somebody else sitting on the bus. But then the games would take 15, 20 minutes long, and those were some of the shorter boards.
Yeah, and I don't mind playing a long game.
Yeah, well, no, but you're not going to do it portable on the 3DS with some stranger on the bus, though. We're not, anyways. I'm just not really a fan of that. So if we can get a Mario Party game where we can kind of get into it with our friends on the 3DSs, I'd be okay with that. But
it also depends if it's going to be download play or local play or what they're planning on doing with that. Oh, yeah,
if you're going to make a group of 4 friends each buy the game, that gets a little expensive.
No, but since we are a couple, it's a little ridiculous to get the game twice. So that's the downside on playing games together. That's coming out on November 4th. The thing they keep talking about with this game that they made differently is that you're all going to have your turn at the same time, so you don't have to wait. Now, when I saw the gameplay, there's a little bit of a wait element to it because, I mean, everybody can take their turn at once, but you need to wait till, let's say, all 4 players are done their turn before you go on to minigame. That could save some time, and you could be doing something while somebody else is doing something. Most of their minigames seem to be a lot of chance again, which I don't enjoy. I know it gives a fair chance to everybody if there's one player who's really amazing and you just can't beat them.
You turn into that guy that plays Mario Party, but no,
but I still kind of prefer having some sort of skill involved.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, I really liked Recore, except that's an Xbox One exclusive, and we don't have an Xbox One yet.
Yeah.
But that looked really good because you can have like 3 or 4 robots that each do different abilities that follow you around. It is a shooting game, but because of the different abilities and elements that they added to it, I might be inclined to play it. They also showed Horizon Zero Dawn. That looks to be really good. It's another game. Robots are all going crazy and attacking, and we have to figure out why. It looks like there's a lot of hunting involved. You have your bow and arrow. You're out in the wilderness. Another game that they announced was Detroit Become Human for the PS4. There's no date on that one, so I'm a little disappointed.
Clip on that too, but,
yeah, the only clip that they showed was that it's a very heavy decision-making game, which is really starting to be more popular now, and I love that because we really enjoyed Life is Strange.
Until spoilers, the last chapter.
Yeah, they kind of ruin it. They kind of ruin the whole game at the end, which I'm going to try to forget because overall,
it was good. Yeah,
the character drama and the gameplay and the whole ideal behind it was really fun. I like being able to select what you say and actually have it affect the game and the story. There's consequences to your choices, which I really liked. So for this game, I believe you're an android, and they introduced a hostage situation where somebody was up on the roof with a little girl saying that he was going to jump unless they heard him out. So you go and you make a decision on what you're supposed to do. So they actually showed you 5 or 6 different ways, I think, and just what happens when you choose. If you grab him and miss, then they both fall.
And there was some where you fell. Like if you reached out to grab him, he grabbed you. You both fell. He let go of the little girl, or they both fell. Or they both live and you fell, and it was really neat to see the different situations that they brought in.
They really did a lot of different outcomes for just that one scene, so I'm excited to see what the entire game looks like.
And you know, that's another one that they had that's still in development. It's hard to get an accurate opinion about that, but it does, just from the trailer, it looks really good.
And one more game I want to mention is Dragon Quest Builders. They announced that was coming out in October. I don't think they have an exact date for that yet. For the PS4, and I'm sorry if I keep saying PS4 and it's also out for the Xbox One, but I'm planning on getting
one console out there?
I'm planning on getting everything for the PS4, so I only know that one game, Recore, is an exclusive for the Xbox One, but other than that, that's what we're aiming for unless there's a reason for me to get the Xbox One. Anyway, Dragon Quest Builders. I'm probably going to look when they start having reviews on it. I've never played Minecraft, but it's basically a Minecraft game, but with Dragon Quest characters and monsters. I don't like, and I'm sorry for Minecraft fans, but the boxy look of all the characters. I know how it looks pixelated and everything. I'm not enjoying the graphics on that. I can't get behind that. But for Dragon Quest Builders, they actually have little 3D characters, which is more pleasing to look at for me. And I do like building stuff, but I don't know how boring that's going to get after a long time. So I need people to play it and let me know, basically, because I don't know just how much you can do in that game and how much has to be all created by you. Like, if there's no story, or if they don't guide you or direct you in some sort of way, I can't creatively think of something that'll keep me entertained for that long.
Yeah, and this is another one of those games where I find it still too bad that you can't rent games anymore. Either that or just have some really good playable demos on the like PlayStation Network or Xbox Live, because I want to be able to play some of these games, see if I like them, and then go out and buy them. I know there's a service called GameFly, but in Canada it's called Game Access. It ends up being about $25 a month. It's pretty expensive, but I just want to be able to play some games, get an idea for them, and if we like them, then we'll just buy them.
So that's it for me. Now I'm going to throw it over to Mo, and you can say your favorite games that you enjoyed from E3.
So one that stood out for me is just because I played the first one, is Watch Dogs 2. They've enhanced the hacking mechanic. First of all, they fixed up the graphics, which to me is really good, but I had never really had an issue with the graphics in the first one. They've fixed a lot of the parkour elements, which is good as well. But to me, that hacking looked really cool. Joe hasn't really seen it that much, and we were watching the demo of them doing one of the stealth missions where you got to go in, you got to hack your way through, walk around, take out some people. You can either be lethal or non-lethal, and I really like how they give you that choice. But
and you can actually send in a drone in this one.
He was the main character, and I think you can create your character. I'm not sure. I know you're going to be working for DedSec, which is the hacker group in the game. He was sitting on a crane, and he sent in a little flying drone up to the window and then started hacking the security cameras and whatnot in there. Which, my main complaint of Watch Dogs 1 was the lack of cameras. They had just a handful of cameras. I would have liked them to have more, because that would have given just so much more angles and whatnot to get. Sometimes you'd get blocked out, and I know that was part of the challenge, but just to send in a little RC vehicle just to kind of drive around and for you,
and
I
you're
thought that
in a
was really
safe
cool.
distance away, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I really like the Detroit Become Human one. It looks really fascinating, but we talked a lot about that, so I'm going to skip it. Hitman. I have not played any of the Hitman games. They didn't really catch me before this, but then we saw, first of all, the trailer, and then we saw a gameplay demo. It looks intense.
It looks really
rough.
good.
So I love that, because I really like the stealth elements of Watch Dogs. So I'd like to play the Hitman just to see. They've literally thought of everything. They knock you down, you knock the guy down over there, you take his clothes, you know what I mean, then you become part of the staff. He was walking around, and it looks tough.
They really let you choose how you want to take out your enemy. There's always an enemy that you have to, of course you're a hired hitman, that you have to take out in missions, and they don't tell you how to do it. They let you decide. You can do it by poison, you could do it from far away, you could do it from close up, you can kill everybody in the room if you want to, you can
but also
hide and do it.
With kill everybody in the room, the problem is the NPCs are actually really smart. Like, usually on a lot of games like that, you're walking around, you can walk up right behind the NPC and take them out like that, because in most games the AI is not that great. But in this one, you can get caught very easily. Even if sometimes when the NPC is walking by somebody you've already taken out, they don't even notice. But in this one, they do. They notice the guy on the ground and say, okay, there's something up. You get an alert on your gameplay, so it looks really tough.
And I think
really
the higher your body count is, the lower your rank is. They actually have a point or score system at the end of the mission to tell you how well that you did. And you really have to think in this one, like whatever you would do in real life, not saying you're going to go kill someone in real life, but whatever you think you can do, you can probably do in the game. Because we saw somebody, they're cutting cheese at a table because they're all eating off of platters. They're eating off of platters, and he just sneaks behind the table and grabs a knife because you need a knife to cut cheese. So I thought that was pretty smart.
And he walked away and threw the knife at the guy and then booked it. The thing was really funny. But it's
has
really interesting.
Has a lot of replayability.
Yeah, I just don't know if I'm creative enough to do it really well, but you can just play the episodes over and over and over again because there's so many different ways.
They give you time to check your surroundings, go around, figure out exactly what you're going to do in steps. The only thing is that we're going to wait to see if they come out with a collection of this, because it is an episodic game, so I think they're going to release episode 4. I don't really like waiting to play my games. I want to play it all in one shot, or at least know that I can if I wanted to. So we'll probably be doing a little bit of waiting for that one.
To me, Final Fantasy 15 looked amazing. Leave it to Square Enix, but they had the best graphics, I would say, of all of E3. We played a little bit of the demo, and it's really nice. They've fixed the battle mechanics since then. They've added some magic. They've added a weapons wheel where you can select the different weapons. So it looks really good. So, we'll see what that is.
I was a little disappointed.
Right?
Yeah, your car can fly, actually, and you can ride on chocobos. That all looks really fun. I was a little bit worried because I hate that they turned a Final Fantasy game into the most action-oriented game that they have yet.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts style battle system, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm really a fan of the ATB gauge or the waiting. That's what Final Fantasy is for me. But they just announced that probably for players like me, they added a wait mode. So what it does is that when you're being surrounded by enemies and you're in the middle of battle, you can press select or pause or something, change it to wait, and then everything just pauses, and you can scan everything. You can look at where all your party members are. You can look at their health bars. You can look at where all the monsters are, their locations, their health bars, and you can select who you want to attack next, so you can really strategize that way. And all of your attacks are usable in this mode, so you can just select whatever you want. You probably give yourself a potion or heal yourself or whatever while you're in this mode, just to give yourself a breather, a break.
Yeah, it's that was the main issue I had, was you're just walking around and then all of a sudden, whoa, there's a bad guy. And it takes a second, I don't know for most people, but for me anyways, to kind of be like, hey, whoa, where am I? Where's the bad guy? What's going on? So I'm glad that they give you a little bit of a wait time, not too much, but it's pretty good. So what I really like about this franchise, though, they're doing a full multimedia setup. They're doing an anime, which I think there's a couple episodes out already. They're doing a movie, a full CGI movie that looks gorgeous. Go watch it. It's amazing.
It's coming out in August, I believe.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if I want to go see it in theaters right away, or if I just want to wait for the DVD that we ordered, which is part of the special edition.
Oh yeah, the super special amazing edition. The story won't have any spoilers in it for the game. It is what's going on in the capital city, whereas the game is what's going on with you out where you're in your little boys club. I don't know what's going on there. But so there's not going to be much of a crossover anyways. The anime a little bit, but they're addressing basically what they covered in the demo already with the anime, so that's not a problem.
It's called, the anime, by the way, is called Brotherhood, because it's about all of the characters and how they interact together. Really friendship-y kind of
Oh yeah, it's very
anime.
bro. It's a very bro.
It's a bromance going on. And the movie is called Kingsglaive, which is mostly about the king, Noctis's father, and the woman that he's going to marry. I'm forgetting her name at the moment.
I can't remember.
But anyway, so did you want to talk about other games?
Yeah, a jarring segue for this one, but the Star Trek Bridge Crew looked pretty cool because that was a VR co-op. So you all need to have the headsets. It is a local co-op, but everybody has a role on the Star Trek bridge. So you have your captain, your mechanic, your helmsman. It is not mechanic. What am I talking? Engineer, helmsman, all that stuff. So you're just a group of people. You're taking orders from the captain. There's a situation that happens. You have to react to it, basically like what they did in the Star Trek shows and the movies and whatnot. It just looked really cool. I probably not gonna play it, but I thought it was a really cool mention just because of the use of VR with it.
I'm probably not going to touch on VR at all. Virtual reality, by the way, for those of you that don't know. They're really starting to make a lot more games for that. I believe the one for Xbox is called Oculus Rift.
Yeah, they're
correct
working
me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and then PlayStation has their own VR headset as well. Oculus is a separate company. They've partnered up with Microsoft to bring it for the consoles, but PlayStation VR has their own setup. They've announced Kingdom Hearts 15, Final Fantasy 15 with VR, which okay.
It kind of looks cool actually because you're going to be playing as Prompto in this one.
Yeah.
He's the more silly one, and in Final Fantasy 15, he's actually the character. I believe you can actually take photos with him because everybody has their own skill that you can do. There's one of them who's a cook. So he's always going to be the better cooker, and Prompto's the one that takes pictures. So I'm interested in seeing how that works.
So last game. Sorry, I didn't cut you off. We're running out of time. Last game I wanted to mention was the new South Park game. It's the sequel to The Stick of Truth. I'm not saying the title. Just go look it up.
Please say the title.
No, I'm not saying the title.
It's really funny.
It is South Park, Fractured but Whole. You
heard
know,
it right.
I know we have kids listening. I didn't say what you think I said. But you just go watch the trailer. It looks really funny. So we're running out of time, but we really want to mention Yooka-Laylee, just because we're such big fans of that. I want to say that franchise, but it's not really that franchise. Joe can explain that a little bit more.
Well, it's just from most of the creators from Rare, who ended up being owned by Microsoft. And if you didn't see that crappy Banjo game that came out a while ago for Xbox 360 called Nuts and Bolts, was a huge disappointment for people who really loved the first two Banjo games on the Nintendo 64 that Rare made. So most of the people from Rare left, created their own game company called Playtonic Games, and they started a Kickstarter campaign to basically ask people to fund a game if they made something that was as close to Banjo and Kazooie as possible. They can't actually use those characters because those IPs are owned by Microsoft, but
they're trying really, really hard.
They made it as close as possible. Yooka-Laylee, so you've got a chameleon and a bat this time, so you still have that flying element. The music is pretty much the same.
They have the same composer from the first two games as well.
The collecting aspect is huge, and they made it, you really get rewards out of it, and even the sound effects that they made are the same as Banjo. There's googly eyes on everything, which is something that we all really asked for them to do. Cheesy, funny, unique characters are in there. If you haven't seen the trailer, go ahead and watch the trailer. Their Kickstarter campaign is done now, so you can't be part of this special edition that they're offering for everyone else, like Toy Box, which is their demo that they're going to be giving to everyone else with t-shirts and things like that.
Also, you could have gotten your name in the credits and all that kind of stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, so we were a part of that. We are getting a PC version because that's the only physical copy that they're going to be doing, but they're going to let you digitally download from every platform that there is, so Wii U, PlayStation, and Xbox. It has been delayed to the first quarter of 2017 rather than this October, but it seems to be really worth it, and I'm really excited because Banjo and Kazooie is my all-time favorite game.
Oh yeah. Even in the trailer, they stuck in a little nod to Banjo and Kazooie. There was I don't know if you guys saw that, but there was a little jiggy in the back, right on the glass, which was just a great
instead of a
nod.
lemon.
Yeah, so that was really cool. In terms of pushing it back, with such a small studio like this, little indie studio, I want them to take their time to do it right, because it's been so long since there's been like a 3D platformer like that. They are quote unquote ripping off Banjo, but I'm okay with that because Microsoft is not putting out another Banjo game, so they get it as close as possible. It looks fun, and we're really excited to play it because it really captures that tone of Banjo really well.
And speaking of special editions, you could probably get your hands on the special edition for Final Fantasy again. Originally, when they announced it during Uncovered, which was an event that they held in March, they announced that they were only going to have 30,000 copies available for that special edition, which we got because we are that nerdy. But so many people complained that they couldn't get their hands on it, so now they're making a few more. So if you want to go on Square Enix's shop online, you You could get a Noctis Play Arts Kai statue, and I really enjoy statues from Play Arts Kai because they're really well done, hand painted, they look quality. Beautiful. You get the whole Brotherhood anime series, you get the DVD for Kingsglaive like I mentioned earlier, you get a hardcover art book, and you get a soundtrack, and the music is always wonderful. Also, Mo got Watch Dogs 2 because it comes with a robot, like an actual robot that you use in the game. I don't know if it's remote controlled or if it just runs off batteries.
No, it runs off the app. So you just use the controller app that comes with it. It's a little 7-inch robot, and it is your little partner in the game controller with your phone. You can't hack with it. Well, I guess you could, but I'm not so inclined to do that. But it is really cool. It looks like the robot and the special edition is going to be available on November 15th. So that's right on time for my birthday, so good.
And one more game I wanted to mention with a really cool special edition is Persona 5. I know I didn't mention that earlier, but that's also a game I'm really excited for. So I pre-ordered the special edition with soundtrack, a hardcover art book, and you actually get a school bag, one of those big heavy handled ones, like a gym bag kind of thing, and you get a 4-inch Morgana plushie, and Morgana is a character in the game that's a cat and looks like a burglar type or thief. Actually, they're all thieves in this game with a bandana, so it looks really adorable. I'm really glad for that to come out. It's coming out February 14th for Valentine's Day.
Aww, isn't that great? So we're running out of time here. We didn't want to go too long, but there is a lot of news coming out of E3. And this was just a selection of stuff that we like and just kind of what we thought about it.
There's still the new God of War. There's still...
Oh, and people are going nuts over that.
Sea of Thieves that Rare made.
And there's that Norman Reedus game that people have no idea what's going on with.
Because Hideo Kojima... actually got his own business together, separate from Konami. He's actually using Norman Reedus for this game. Yeah. And it's a really weird trailer, so check that out.
Yeah, so there's a lot of news coming out of E3, so we're just touching on what we could. So that's about all the time we have for today. Thank you everybody for listening. Check us out on social media. We're at Mojoverse Sudbury on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Also, we're on Tumblr as well. Check us out at mojoversesudbury@gmail.com if you have any comments or questions for us.
We would really like to hear from you. We'd like to discuss further with you guys what you thought about our podcast and what you thought about what we said, and get your thoughts and opinions on that.
Yeah, and we're still trying to find our feet with the podcast. My qualification for podcasts is I just listen to a bunch of them. So we would really like feedback, and so that's about it. Tune into our next episodes. We're going to be talking more about the shows we watch, the books we read, what's out, new games and stuff like that, what we're playing. So be sure to check that out. And thank you very much. My name is Mo.
And this is Joe.
And thank you for listening on the Mojoverse podcast.
Good night, everybody.